Welcome to the next installment of the Miami Group Sierra Club Virtual Backpack Series.
I'm excited to tell you that we have another brand new topic. You may have heard of this practice from Japan, where it's called shinrin yoku, which translates to forest bathing in English. So tonight, our guest presenter is Christina Willis. She's a certified nature and forest therapy guide. She's also a longtime friend of mine, a fellow hiker and backpacker and general adventurer. And I'm really happy that she has agreed to join us to do this presentation tonight. She's going to explain this practice to us, and she's also going to be guiding us on an abbreviated virtual forest bathing session. So, Christina, if you're ready, I will let you take it over. Christina, you may have muted yourself. I don't hear you.
What are we doing here?
Are you muted?
No. Can you hear it?
There we go. There we go.
All right.
Now you can hear me.
Sure, they've muted.
First, I want to show much gratitude and appreciation for the Miami Group Sierra Club. This is an amazing opportunity. I love sharing my passion of forest bathing and forest therapy with others. And this is a great way to do so, to help people understand. Of course, people, when you hear of forest bathing, the first thing you think of is, well, I don't want to take a bath in the woods. Well, you're not taking a bath in the woods. You are, however, immersing yourself in all of the senses of the forest. So forest bathing is actually translated from a Japanese term, shinrin yoku, as Nancy mentioned. It is an immersion in the essence of the forest. It is a gentle practice that involves moving very slowly and very mindfully through nature, soaking it in with all of our senses. Thank you, Nancy.
Welcome.
Forest therapy, on the other hand, is a research-based framework which takes forest bathing and expands upon it. And it's a framework for supporting healing and wellness. It is a guided immersion in natural environments through invitations which bring us to the present moment. We're all so busy with life, going here or there, and we all have so many to-do lists in our mind. Well, this is a practice that helps just bring you present. The carefully crafted invitations help to enliven our sense of wonder and our connection with nature. By doing this, we not only encounter the forest, but through the many mirrors of nature, we also encounter ourselves. After each invitation, we gather in a circle or council to witness to each other's experiences. Participants are invited to share something about their experience, but we also know that silence is also a form of sharing, and all is welcome here. To give you a little background, in the past, Japan had basically been an outdoor people. However, in the 1980s, they were moving from outdoor activities to a tech-based economy. During and after this transition, the Japanese government noticed a spike in autoimmune diseases and in cancer. They wanted to know why, so they started to look for the many reasons for this epidemic. What they found was that the people who were outdoors more often were naturally healthier. This spurred a whole movement in Japan in which shinrin yoku, or forest bathing, became a preventative healthcare practice. It is immersing ourselves in the healing power of the forest. Forest therapy takes this practice, like I said a moment ago, one step further, and it was developed to reduce the impact of this fast-paced way of life. It is not just being outdoors. We all know what it feels like to go out to the deck in the morning with our cup of coffee and listen to the birds and view the birds and the flowers and the trees in our backyards. And it's just an amazing experience. That's basically the basic of forest bathing. But forest therapy takes that further by helping to create a relationship with nature. After years of research, forest therapy became a practice of more than ordinary presence that invites us to a heightened sensory awareness through a standard sequence. And that's one of the big things that makes forest therapy different from forest bathing, is that we have a standard sequence to help guide you to a deeper relationship. It actually became a medical healing art based on the observations that people's health outcomes seem to improve by regular dedicated time immersed in forest environments. As certified guides, we attend to the safety of our participants by being certified in basic and wilderness first aid. We also adhere to the practice of wild tending. Many of us know about the leave no trace or do no harm practices, and we actually participate in them quite often. But those are wonderful philosophies, but wild tending is a philosophy of connection and a reciprocal relationship with the earth. We are here and we are tending to and communicating with this land. We practice wild tending by respecting the land and the indigenous people who came before us, and by developing a deep understanding of plant and animal life. Participant safety is one of our highest priorities. So we request that if anyone has a health issue, such let's say as an asthma inhaler or mobility issues, or in my case, a potential need for an EpiPen, I'm allergic to bees, that we are made aware of that at the beginning of the walk in order to be able to respond in a good way and make sure that all of our participants are safe. We also scout the trails ahead of time to ensure maximum safety. Each walk is professionally customized to the needs of all the participants, and all fitness and mobility levels are welcome. You'll see that a little bit more about that later. As we near the end of our journey together, we celebrate with a tea ceremony made with tea from edible items harvested from the very forest in which we walk. Participants are invited to share whatever they want at the tea ceremony in order to complete their experience. Next slide, Nancy. You're doing good so far. The benefits of forest bathing are many. I mean, when you're sitting outside and you're just enjoying, or you're taking a walk in the woods with your friends, you probably or might experience varying degrees of heightened perception and creativity, feeling alive in a wonderful way. And the biggest one is mood improvement. We all know how amazing it is when after we come back from going kayaking or bicycling or walking in beautiful woods. The woods that you're looking at right now are from Max Patched on the Appalachian Trail. That was a wonderful experience. The benefits of forest therapy, on the other hand, for people who practice forest therapy on a regular basis, actually receive an increase to their immune system and to their cardiovascular health. They feel a relaxation of the nervous system, also relief from tension disorder and sleep problems, and a reduction of stress and blood pressure, as well as speedier recovery from illness. The best part about this particular, the development of these modalities is the fact that over time we actually have studies which prove all of these different benefits. And we not only have anecdotal evidence, but we have scientific evidence. And one of the biggest examples that I know of is women who do forest bathing on a regular basis when they're undergoing cancer treatment have better outcomes and they feel better. Their numbers are better and their doctors are amazed by how well they do. It's just absolutely amazing. Next slide. Now, what is the big deal about being a certified forest therapy guide, and why did I do this? Well, it all started with an article a friend sent me. He's actually on this video today, and I want to thank him very much. At a time when my life was at a crossroads, I was sent this article about retreating into nature can boost your immunity and your mood. And at that time, I was suffering from autoimmune diseases, and I was trying to figure out what are the best ways for me to handle this. And when I read this article, I was literally on fire. I knew that I needed to become a certified forest therapy guide. So that's how it started. Next slide. So what I did was I enrolled in a program, the Certified Nature and Forest Therapy Guide program, and I met some amazing people. We had quite a journey. We spent 8 days of intensive training led by very talented trainers. Next slide. I connected with myself and others as I deepened my relationship with nature. And it was just so transformative for me. And that's why I love to share it so much. During this 6-month practicum, there was much to do. Reading numerous articles and books, listening to podcasts, becoming certified in basic and wilderness first aid, learning how to forage and safely make teas from the plants on the trails, and immersing myself in the history of the indigenous people of the lands where the walks would be held. I spent a lot of time outside, relaxing, sketching, journaling, taking pictures, enjoying nature. And all of these pictures that you see were from my journey in various times and places. Next slide. So one of the other things we had to do was we had to actually lead walks. We can't just go from training to leading people. We had to do a lot of practice. And each year in September, there's Forest Bathing Day. And I led a walk there at Woodland Mound in Cincinnati, where we joined others from around the world in experiencing the healing power of the forest in our local parks. Next slide. I also led a walk at the organic farm of Bear Creek, and that was just amazing because not only were we able to experience the nature there at the farm, but we also were able to take in the fruits and vegetables that were made at the farm or grown at the farm. And our tea was made from echinacea that was grown right there on the farm. I also led a walk in Indian Hill, Ohio, at a park, just at a local park. Everywhere anybody wants to, I can find a little bit of nature where I can lead a walk. I also led a walk on some private property next to a chalet in the winter time. And that was quite interesting because it was cold, it was snowy, and you would think, why would you want to be outside in the woods? But we had an amazing time and it was an amazing experience. And what I did was I started at a fire and then we radiated out into the woods and then came back to the fire. It was a wonderful experience. I also led a walk at Morgan's Hemlock Home Reserve. And this was really special to me because the Morgan's family loves to preserve nature and especially along the Little Miami River. And that again was a very transformative experience there at the Hemlock Home and Nature Reserve. Next slide. After 6 months of intensive training, study, and practice, we became certified nature and forest therapy guides. And to this day, in fact, today I was in contact with these people. So we're in constant communion with each other and we help each other at all times. So it made a nice connection, deep connection with not only nature, but also these people. So what does that mean? It means as a certified guide, I continually learn. I'm continually wondering and reading and looking at the latest medical research, new developments in the field of nature connection, and also always going back to the ancient traditions of mindfulness and wellness promotion. Every guided walk is an act of power and beauty, that we cultivate deep connections with potentially transformational impacts on the participants. I use a clearly defined sequence of guided invitations that provides structure to the experience while also embracing the many opportunities for creativity and serendipity offered by the forest. As an experienced guide, I also incorporate individual inspiration customized to the needs of each group, and all fitness and mobility levels are welcome. Next slide. We'll come back to questions at the end. And I do want to, Nancy, we can do questions now or we can do them after these next few slides.
Let me allow you to share the screen so you can share the slides that you have, and then we'll come back to the questions. How about that?
Okay, that would be great. So take it away. So as an example, I did these are just some examples of walks and what the people talked about or felt after the walks. We did a forest therapy walk in conjunction with a holistic healing practitioner who did holistic healing for pets. So we did a walk with dogs, and it gave people the opportunity to connect more closely with their animals and to know and to keep an eye out on the things that were important to them during the walk. So they learned to just see more around them instead of hurrying through life and hurrying through the walk with their dog. They actually slowed down and learned ways to pay more attention to the things that were around them. One of the participants said, if my dog could talk, he would say this was the best day of his life. I just loved that. And in this particular walk, we combined forest therapy and yoga, and we focused on the elements essential to life. So we did an invitation for earth, air, fire, and water of both forest bathing, forest therapy, but also yoga. And it led to a great synergy and a wonderfully relaxing experience for the participants. In this example, this is a perfect example of how I customize my walks to the type and the needs of the people who participate in the walks. Addressing the physical and mental challenges of my sister, forest therapy walks transform her from a state of agitation to one of childlike wonder. She becomes entranced with trees and the plants and the sunset. And in doing so, she became relaxed and inquisitive and asked when we could go again. Actually, she's always asking me when we can go. So as soon as she's allowed to come out of her nursing home, we will be doing more walks. She absolutely loves them. And it really does help calm her down. In this particular example on Morgan's property, it was a girlfriend weekend. These ladies decided they want to do something completely different as they came together from different parts of the United States. So they chose a forest therapy walk. They were present in the moment, fondly remembering childhood memories, feeling nourished, relaxed, and uplifted. One of the participants said, "So happy this event popped up on my newsfeed. It allowed me to bring out my childlike wonder and reconnect with nature on a different level." And as a guide, it is so fun to hear people talk about the things they did with their grandpa at the river or the walks they went with their grandma in the woods. It was just really a neat experience. In this particular walk, this one again was on Morgan's property. I was actually practicing wild tending by pulling an old rope out of the river to carry back with me and dispose of properly. And as I was standing there and we were getting ready to walk back, this young lady said, "You untangled that rope from the river just like you helped untangle parts of our lives today." And I was just like mesmerized by what she said. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then if you would like to go to some questions, Nancy, after that, we will go to a sensory experience. Well, I will help lead you on a sensory experience of forest bathing.
Okay, so at this point, you have choices of either typing questions that you might have for Christina in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself and ask your questions out loud at this time if you would like to do that, just depending on your comfort level. If you are speaking your video and you have your video turned on, it will show up on the recording, so just know that. If you'd prefer not to be included in the recording, you can use the chat box or just turn your video camera off. And so we'll just pause for a minute and see if we have any questions. Let's see here. So Christina, we have Holly is asking, where are these trips advertised? I've never heard of them.
Well, that's a great question because they're advertised on Meetup, on Eventbrite, on various certified guide pages. They're on Facebook, and I can I'll put my links out to you later. So you can certainly look for them. If you actually go into Meetup or you go into Eventbrite and type in forest therapy or that type of thing, or you're on Facebook or even Instagram, you can actually search for certified guides. And there's also, and I can provide this link to you later, there's actually a map, a guide locator map, where you can actually type in your zip code and it'll pop up the guides that are in your area. But
oh, and Christina,
guide,
so you cover the greater Cincinnati region yourself, right?
that is correct.
So if people want to connect with you, the best way to do that is going to be on your Facebook page?
That's correct.
And you'll put okay, we'll share that link later. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting.
But yes, yeah, I cover the whole Cincinnati, Indiana, Kentucky areas, the tri-state area. There's other guides also in my area. So if people, let's say people want to, let's say, do a family reunion, a forest therapy guide walk at a family reunion, I can pull from different guides, and as a group, we can do a safe, socially distant walk for more than one guide. But there's many, many different areas and ways of seeing it. And there've also been podcasts, and also I'm trying to connect with the news to get a story out there as well. But if you just do a search on Google, you can, you will find, you can do a search on forest therapy or forest bathing, and you'll find all kinds of information.
And related to that, Tammy is asking, are you offering forest therapy hikes in the area now?
Actually, I am not doing them right at this moment. I'm going to start in June because I'm choosing to do it after the cicadas make their grand appearance. So I currently have walks scheduled on the second Saturday of each month, starting in June for 6 months at the Centerville, Washington Park District up near the Dayton area. And then as soon as, actually very soon, I'm going to be putting more walks out there. But also my walks are part of the offerings at Morgan's Riverside Campground and Canoe. So if you're familiar with the Morgans up in Morrow, Ohio, I'm listed as an option there, and you just get in contact with them. And actually I just got a request from them to do a walk for a family on July 4th. So it'll be a private walk for a family, but there's Morgan's, there's the Centerville, Washington Park District. I'll be putting some out there. So yes, I do them. At anytime anybody wants to have one, I will put one out there.
So a question I have for you, Christina, is do you limit the size of your group?
Yes, well, temporarily, yes, because of we're still trying to figure ourselves out with this whole COVID situation. We did limit it to 10. However, like I said a minute ago, if there are more, let's say 20, in fact, for the Centerville, Washington Park District, they'll have a wait list. So on that particular day, if more than the 10 that they're allowing sign up, we'll automatically have a second walk later that day. And so smaller sizes are better, but because there are other guides in the area, what I would do is I would contact one of them in order to split the group into a reasonable size walk, because once it gets past 10 or 15, it gets a little hard to manage. And we want to make sure that people have deep connections. It's all about quality, not quantity.
Good. And then Joe is asking, is there a cost involved?
There is. Guides charge anywhere between 30, 40. It depends on what area of the country you're in. That people charge anywhere between $30 to $50 per person. If a family wants to have it, then there's like a base rate for a group, but it can vary in size. But I'm very passionate about these walks. So if a lot of times I will say, donate whatever you feel is right for you. But the value of the walks can be anywhere between $30 to $50, depending on the part of the country that you're in.
Cool. I think that's all the questions that we have right now. If I'm right, at this point, you're going to lead us on an abbreviated virtual forest bathing experience. Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay, well, let me stop sharing my screen so you can have it back. Did you have a question,
Okay.
Barry?
There was another question that popped up in the chat. Tammy was asking how long are the walks?
Oh, that's a great question, because they're actually 2 to 3 hours long. And it depends on the size of the group and the connections and how people interact. So it might be as little as 2 hours or as long as 3 hours, but that's generally what we do. I have made them smaller based on requests. But basically, what I want to make sure people know is that when you come to these walks, you might come with all those to-do lists and you hurry and get there and there's so much going on. But I promise you, when you walk away, you're going to be like, all kumbaya. So it's so worth it. You know, it's so worth the time and energy you invest in yourself to take those couple of hours and that few dollars to relax.
Cool.
I see another question. How do these immersion walks differ from, say, backpacking for 2 or 3 days or more, where you are immersed in the forest for days? Great question, because when I go out with my girlfriends and we go backpacking, we definitely feel forest bathing. We definitely feel that relaxation that comes along after being in the woods or in any type of nature. The difference is that these are guided walks. And so the invitations are a little bit different. Sometimes backpacking is, let's walk 10 miles to get to the next place so we can see that waterfall. Or let's, hike another 6 miles. Sometimes they're more fitness related, which is wonderful to do. But this is a more relaxed way of approaching it. And there is no hurrying. It's just all about relaxing. And so when I notice when I am out with my girlfriends, we might just be sitting there like gaga, looking at nature. And it's part of it. But then, connecting with nature and connecting with the land and feeling, like you want to protect it. And then also learning these types of invitations and this modality in order to carry it with you in your life is also part of the process. And a perfect example is one time I was at a hardware store and I had backed into my space and there was like a sign and I backed up into it and I had to get something out of my trunk. And when I lifted my trunk, I looked down and there was like this lone flower right there. And I was just like, oh, like that was so pleasant. I connected at that moment. It reminded me, why am I in a hurry? Slow down. Life doesn't have to be that way. You learn more how to connect more freely and more frequently when you engage in these type of walks.
I would, as a participant in both backpacking and Christina's guided forest therapy walk, I would also say that what she's saying about it just being more mindful. It is like you're really slowing down and noticing and interacting with what's around you. And a 2-hour guided forest therapy walk might only cover a half a mile. I mean, it's intense. It's more intense and more intentional, both, as opposed to just being in nature. You're interacting more with what's around you.
Right. I definitely think that forest backpacking or any, hiking in the woods is just an amazing thing. And that's forest bathing, because the forest, it will give you its natural healing, no matter how fast or slow you're doing it. But forest therapy is more mindful and you notice things that you would have never noticed before. And then because you do that, you notice them more in your real life when you're outside of a walk.
So another question popped up. Holly is saying, do these types of walks exist for kids, or is that just crazy talk?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. Thank you, Holly. Actually, when I lived on 5 acres of woods, I actually had fun day in the woods for all of my friends, kids, and grandkids. And that became a highlight or a tradition of them. And they would write me these beautiful thank you cards and drawings and everything. And of course, absolutely, they can be structured for any age group, from kids all the way up to nursing homes. We can bring nature into nursing homes and help them connect with nature there. And then of course with the children, we definitely can lead them in walks too. We just structure our walk differently. We let them expend a little energy first, and then we customize the invitations to their more of their attention level. And they love it. They love it.
Okay.
So, are we
you
ready?
Yeah.
I am ready. Okay. Oh, there we go. If everyone will take a deep breath and also view the screen. I believe you can hear the sound and you can see it at this point. Nancy, can you verify that for me?
Yes, you can hear the sound and also see the waterfall. Thank you.
Okay, great. At this moment, if everyone could take a deep breath, breathe in deeply, and breathe out. Take a few deep breaths. And maybe notice your body. And notice how it feels to be supported by the earth below your feet, by the couch or chair that you're sitting on. How it feels to be sitting in that couch and viewing this beautiful nature. How our thoughts arise and fall away, welcoming all of it. Turning our attention to hearing, what sounds do you hear? Noticing the variety of sounds. The sounds that are near, and the sounds that are far. Are there any patterns in the sounds that you hear? I wonder if there are any rhythms in the sounds around us. and if those sounds interact with each other. And how those individual sounds may combine, like chords or symphony. And notice within the experience of sound, that which is giving you pleasure. And as you continue to listen and view this beautiful scenery and breathe deeply, I invite you to exaggerate the sound of your own breathing. Just enough so that you can hear it. So that it blends with the sounds around you. What is it like to be a part of the symphony of this place? Now turning our attention to our sight. I invite you to notice the many different colors of green. Who knew there were this many shades of this delightful color? I wonder which one of these greens brings you the most pleasure? Now looking at all of the shapes that are in this picture, straightness of the trees, shapes of leaves, flowing water, so many different shapes. The moss on the tree, the shape of the sun as it hits the leaves. I wonder what your favorite shape is. I wonder what shape is bringing you the most pleasure. Focusing on the water and the qualities of water. It gives life. It flows. It never stops. It's always moving. Through our rivers and streams, to our lakes and ocean, back into the atmosphere, and then down again as rain. The water brings so many wonderful qualities to our life. I wonder how you would feel if you were sitting at the base of this waterfall, feeling the water, touching it, wondering where it came from and where it's going. Who did it bring life to today? Imagine taking their shoes off and putting your feet in, feeling the coolness, in that puddle of water. At the base of the waterfall. Checking out the little creatures and the fish and the insects that are flowing down its pool where your feet are. Wondering what they're thinking today. Wondering how they feel when they see your feet in the water. Wondering how these trees and the air and the birds and the insects see you sitting in their home. They're welcoming you. They're delighted you're here. And as we take our feet out of the pond, let our feet dry, put our shoes back on, remembering this place. So when life throws us a curveball, we can come back here in our minds, and take a moment and relax and enjoy the feelings that we felt today. So let's put our shoes on and begin our walk. Back out of the forest. Just walk slowly and deliberately as we come back into our bodies. And as we come back into this beautiful session today.
I didn't want the babbling brook sound to stop.
That's the hard part, it's coming back.
Ah, that was delightful, Christina.
Actually, I'm so relaxed. I'm like, wow. So that's an example. That's only 10 minutes out of the 30 minute or 3 hours that you would spend, 2 to 3 hours you would spend with a guide. And
That's very nice.
And thinking about bringing that with us and using that again when we need a moment to relax.
So thank you so much for that, Christina. For everyone who experience that. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I did put a link in the chat box for you all to the Miami group virtual outings page, where you'll find on that page a link to this presentation, and a PDF copy of the slides will be on there as well. And then Christina, you're going to put your contact information in the chat box as well, correct?
Well, actually, I'm going to show you a slide. So I will do both, but let me share the screen one more time.
Okay.
And I'll show you guys all of my information. So like I said, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. There's my email, my phone number. You can find me actually if you type in Morgan's Canoe or Morgan's Riverside or Morgan's Canoe Forest Therapy Hikes. A link will pop up to that. And you're more than welcome to go to the Centerville, Washington Park District to view walks there. The one thing I wanted to make sure you all knew is that in forest therapy, the forest is the therapist. The guide only opens the door. So I'll go ahead and put my information in the chat as well to make that easier for everyone. And I will be putting more information on my Facebook page shortly, so stay tuned. And I will also, if you're interested, email me or tag me on my Facebook page, Messenger, and I'll make sure that you also have a link to the map, the guide locator map. So if you're not in the Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky area, that you can find a map or a guide in your area.
Cool. Okay. And with that, I'm going to take the screen back just so that we can wrap up with just a few things about the Sierra Club. This was a terrific presentation. We really appreciate you for doing this, Christina. Really, really appreciate it. It was fantastic. For everyone, if you have an outdoor subject that you have some expertise in and are interested in conducting a virtual outing as a guest presenter for the Sierra Club, by all means, let us know. And if you love the outdoors as much as we do, we'd love to have you join us in other ways as too. You can become a Sierra Club member. You can make a donation to support the work if you like what you're seeing. You can join our meetup, which please, I hope you do that. Hopefully soon we'll actually be meeting in person again, and that way you won't miss any of them. And you can also become a volunteer. There are lots of ways to volunteer to help the Sierra Club accomplish its missions. And if you are an experienced outdoor person and you have skills that you'd like to share with others, we'd love to have you consider joining us on the outings committee. So we are always looking for new outings leaders who have a passion for sharing their experiences and helping other people be able to get out and enjoy nature in the various ways that we all do that. And even though right now we're still doing this only virtually, we'll be back on the trails and waterways in person again soon, hopefully much sooner than later. And we have a lot of fun doing that. So we'd love to have you join us. And then the last thing I want to let you know is that this presentation was brought to you by Roads, Rivers, and Trails, our local independently owned outdoor outfitter in Milford, Ohio, by Miami Group Sierra Club, part of the country's largest and oldest grassroots environmental movement, and by Summit Truck and Travel, your connection for adventure travel. That concludes our presentation, but if anyone has additional questions for Christina that you would like to ask, you're invited to stick around right now. You can unmute yourself and we can just have a conversation.
There was one additional question in the chat. Tammy was asking Christina if there's any books on this topic that she would recommend.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, there's so many books. But there's one, Amos Clifford. He is the gentleman who pioneered forest therapy here in the United States. There's a book by Amos Clifford, and of course I don't have the title with me, but if you will send me your information or grab my information and send me the link, I can send you a whole list of books, because there's also one by the gentleman in Japan who did a lot of studies in order to show the actual chemicals that come from the trees that actually help, or what help build our immunity. So there's actually a whole list of books. So send me a link or send me a message and I'll make sure to get those out to you because I'm happy to share.
I'm putting a link in the chat box right now to, it's actually to Amazon, but it's to the book that Christina just mentioned by Amos Clifford. I think I got the name right. Here's a new question. I don't know if you can see that, Christina. Do you find it easier for women to be more mindful about nature than men? From my perspective, men seem driven to go from A to B, while women tend to slow down and smell the roses, so to speak. Wondering what your experience with men versus women is with forest bathing.
That's a very interesting question because I absolutely would have thought exactly that same thing that you're thinking. However, my experience has shown that I know plenty of women who are driven and are worried about A to B just as much as men are. And I also know men who are willing to share and slow down. In fact, sometimes I'm absolutely amazed at the sharing that the men do in the group as much as the women. So I really don't find that it's a gender thing as much as it is people are just ready to not live such a stressful life. And this is one way of checking out. So my experience has been both. But that's a great question.
Interesting that the person who introduced this to the United States is a man, and the person who developed it in Japan was also a man.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Well, our next presentation is in 2 weeks, and oh my goodness, I know, it's our bird identification, introduction to bird identification on June 3rd. It's going to be presented by Becky Van Dam. Becky, are you still on here? I think she was
I
here.
see her.
I see her. Becky, do you want, there she is. If you would like to, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you would like to say anything about your presentation that's coming up, I would invite you to do that, Becky, if you're there.
I think she's off now. Oh no, she's still here, but she's muted. I don't know if she hears us.
Well, I'm just gonna tout it on her behalf then. So Becky is an avid birder, and she has come up with some fun ways to do a virtual bird walk to help with bird identification of birds that we commonly see in our area, so in the greater Cincinnati area, including in northern Kentucky. Becky lives in northern Kentucky, so she's really sensitive when we don't mention Kentucky too, because she's going to be talking about Kentucky. But in addition to identifying the birds, we're going to do some stuff with bird song, and it should be really interesting. It's going to be a good session. So that's in 2 weeks. It's already posted on our meetup and on our website. The link I put into the chat box earlier to our virtual outings will take you to the page that that's posted on as well. So it's been a pleasure to be with you all. Christina, thank you again so much for joining us for this and for leading it. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.